much can a mom working full-time actually read in a week? Let's find out. Hey there, bookworms. Welcome back to my cozy corner of the internet. Today we are going to go on a journey to figure out realistically how much do I read in a week. When I started this channel, one of my goals was really to prove that just because you're a mom or in a busy season of your life doesn't mean you need to give up hobbies, or for myself, that would be reading. There are ways to continue your reading life and also bring that into your family life as well. So I figured it would be a lot of fun to just kind of see in a crazy week how much I actually read. So first we're going to go through the different books that I've got on my docket this week, and then throughout the video I'll kind of talk about the different pockets of my day that I read and why I have so many different books that I'm reading at the same time. And then we'll wrap up with how much I actually read. All right, so for this week, I've got this stack of books here. No, I am not going to finish all of these books this week, but this is pretty much the stack that I'm working through. So this is a Bible and the Bible recap. I actually literally just started this a couple of weeks ago. I've never read the Bible. It's just something that I wanted to do, so I figured, and I didn't know really where to start, so I saw this on the internet, and my library happened to have it. It's Reading the Bible in a Year. It's called the Bible Recap. My plan is not to read the whole Bible in a year. Basically what I've been doing is one day I read the chapters in the Bible, one day I read the recap, and then I just flip back and forth. If I continue on that pace, it would actually take 2 years to read it. I'm doing it for a couple weeks and I've been enjoying it, so we'll just kind of see how it goes. But this is the first one, so obviously not finishing these 2 books this week. Then we have The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. I've been working my way through this one, as well as Ink Knows No Borders. This is a book of poetry. I also have Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. This is a nonfiction book that I am primarily listening to on audio, actually. And then I have 2 fiction funsy books. One of them is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and the other is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dale. So on a typical reading week, usually I get a bulk of my reading in on Sundays. Sundays is the day that I completely take off from doing anything whatsoever. So usually during her nap, I read the entire time. This Sunday, that just honestly didn't happen, and that's life. Some weeks I do and some weeks I don't. So I think I would have read a lot more if I had gotten my actual Sunday reading in, but that didn't happen. So all of my days, Monday through Friday, look pretty similar as far as what my reading looks like and what I get in. So I'm just gonna kind of break it down with what a typical pocket of the day looks like and what I read during that time. And then at the end of the week, I'll kind of wrap up the total pages that I read this week and what I finished. So the first pocket of my day is the morning time. I wake up pretty early and I consider it like almost like a mother's morning basket. If you've seen any type of toddler morning baskets and quiet baskets and things like that, they might have baskets and different things in there. Honestly, I just have a stack of books on my desk those are the ones that I read through in the morning. Usually that's about 30-ish minutes, kind of depending on what time I wake up. If I sleep in a little bit, sometimes it's 10. But what I consider to be my morning time reading would be the Bible study that I'm doing, and then Sherlock Holmes, because it's more of a classic book, and then the poetry book. So usually how it works is I'll start with whatever the Bible study reading is for the day, whether it's the chapters or the recap. I'll start with that. And then I'll read a little bit of Sherlock Holmes. This book is made up of different short stories, so I've been trying to read 1 short story a day. Sometimes I read just a few pages. Again, it totally depends on what time I wake up. And then I'll read just a couple of poems from this book. And once I'm done with that, I just kind of put the books to the side, and I don't usually pick these up again throughout the rest of the day. All right, so that's basically the first chunk of my reading of the day. On the weekends, it looks a little bit different. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm not usually waking up too early. If I do wake up early on a Saturday and Sunday, I probably just read my For Funsies books, which I'll talk about in a second. This particular week, I actually had to commute into work, so I had extra time in my day to listen to an audiobook. That might not happen on a different type of week. So this is the Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout by Cal Newport. So far, honestly, it's been pretty good. It's really mostly about knowledge workers and the demands on their time and how, maybe getting a lot of things done immediately isn't the best course of action, and it's more about taking things a little bit slower and kind of enjoying the process a little bit more. This is a lot of examples of people like Lin-Manuel Miranda or Marie Curie, and how, you know, they have these great accomplishments, but it took years and years for them actually to do that. Like, I didn't know, I just listened to this, but I guess with Lin-Manuel Miranda, like In the Heights, he put it out and started working on it in 2000, and it wasn't done and on Broadway until like 2008. So obviously that's a famous musical and it has a lot of awards, but we don't think about all the back that went into that and maybe the slower process that he used to continue that. So just kind of going through that and different strategies. It's not my favorite book that I've ever listened to. It's been interesting to listen to on audio because he interchanges the strategies with people's stories. Usually when I listen to audiobooks, depending on who's reading it, I can get away with it with him. I listen to it on like 1.2 speed. Otherwise it just takes forever to get it done. So this on my commute, it's been an extra like 30 minutes to an hour a day that I've got listening to audio. And again, that's like Monday through Friday. If like other times during the week, I have like a chance if I'm like folding laundry and I'm not doing anything else and I'll put on an audiobook, this is the one that I would have put on. But this week it was really just when I was commuting. And then every night I pretty much read before bed. There are a couple of nights a week that I don't. I don't think I read before bed on Thursday, and I think that's it though. Every other night I've read before bed. Usually I get a lot of reading done on Fridays and Saturday nights before bed because I don't really have to get up too early the next day, or I can kind of just have a slower morning. This book I was reading at night was Once Upon a Broken Heart. I read the bulk of this book on Monday night, and I actually finished it on Monday night. So I was pretty far into it. I think I was on page, what was I? Yeah, it was around like page 250, 265 or something, I think, in this book when I started the week. And so then I ended up finishing on Monday because it got really good. I just stayed up and finished the last 100-something pages. And then once this one was done, I started The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dale. I'm really enjoying this one so far. There's all this stuff going on with like his company, and there are speculation about why everyone thinks he disappeared. But then there's also the fact that like Bailey, the stepdaughter, has these like weird memories. So they're just kind of like digging deep into it to figure out what is actually going on and where the husband even is and why he disappeared. So it's been really good. I stopped reading it last night when I got to page 129, and honestly I would have kept going, but I had to go to bed. So tonight, it's a Saturday when I'm filming this, I probably will finish this. All right, so I know it seems kind of crazy to have all of these books you've kind of seen throughout the week. I've talked about how I fit them in. I've kind of showed you how I'm fitting them into my morning. For me, it works, and I think it works because the books are so different. So in my mind, it's like different pockets of books, and I do think this is how I'm able to read a lot more in a lot of different books. That's not to say like if at night I feel like reading something different, I'll read something different. I don't just only have to read these two books at night, and if I really want to read one of these books in the morning, I'm going to, you know? This is just kind of how I structure my reading week so that I can read what I want to read and read a lot of different things. So basically I have like kind of a pocket of 4 books that I'm looking at and that I kind of read every time. So the first one is some sort of audiobook. And most of the time, that audiobook is something I have a physical copy of, and I might be switching back and forth. Most of the time. Not always, but that usually does happen. Then I have some sort of nonfiction book. So in this case, my audiobook was a nonfiction book, The Slow Productivity. So those kind of double dipped. I have what I like to call a before bed book. And those are like easy read books. Those would be like my mystery and thrillers, the fantasy books, like just like general fiction usually. I'm not usually reading like a nonfiction book or Pride and Prejudice before I go to bed. I'm usually reading something that is a little bit easier to read. So that would be like these two. Usually have some sort of like classic book. Like in this case, it's Sherlock Holmes, or it could be the poetry book. I've kind of been doubling up on these because they're so different, but that's kind of like the other pocket. Now, the other thing too is I always have a book on my Kindle so I can have it on my phone. That way, if I'm in line for something or I'm waiting on something, I'm not just like aimlessly scrolling, I'm reading. I talked a lot about that in my ways to find time to read if you're a busy mom or a busy parent video, which I'll link down below. And so right now, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I have it here in hard copy, but I also, this is what is on my Kindle and loaded up on my Kindle right now. So I've kind of been going back and forth from reading this in the mornings. And then if I'm somewhere where I need like I have a few minutes, I'm in a waiting room or whatever, also read this on my Kindle as well. At the end of the week, I read about 6 pages in each of these, the Bible and the Bible recap book. I read about 13 pages or 6 poems in the Ink Knows No Borders book. I read 55 pages, which worked out to be about 3 of the short stories in the Sherlock Holmes book. I finished Once Upon a Broken Heart, which was 125 pages, and then I'm 129 pages into The Last Thing He Told Me. And I'll definitely end up finishing this probably tonight, so I feel like I'll get another at least 50 to 100 pages into this. The Slow Productivity, I got about 60% of the book on my audio, and I looked and that's like around page 145. In total, I have read 479 pages. I'll put a picture of the breakdown somewhere, here or here, wherever it goes. I hope you enjoyed going through this realistic reading week with me. Again, just want to point out that it's a realistic week, but it's not necessarily a week that happens every single time. I was able to read a lot more of Slow Productivity because I had longer audiobook time this week, but on the same token, I had less time to do other things in that respect. So it's kind of a give and take, and I think that's just how life is. If you enjoyed going through this with me this week, I definitely enjoyed taking you along and sharing it with you. If you like this video and you want more tips on how to kind of fit reading into your life as a busy mom, or if you're in a busy season of life, I'll link my 10 tips down below so you can take a look at that. And make sure you like and subscribe so you stay up to date on all of my content. I do post videos every week, and I have started a monthly newsletter, so I'll link that down below. And it comes with a freebie to say thank you and for signing up. And just remember, reading is a journey and reading is completely personal. So whatever you get done in a week, whatever you can read in a week, if it's lower or higher than what I read this week, it doesn't matter, right? It's whatever you wanted to read this week and whatever you got to reading. That's awesome. So I hope that I will see you next time, and I hope you got some tips on how to include reading into your life and fit it into a busy schedule, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.